Shalom, Kahala Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Bashim Kakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of the GMS, including the elders that came before them and taught us this truth. And shalom and salutations to all the brothers that push the word and truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. I'm the brother Yahshua, back with the WW3 Daily Update. And today is Tuesday, Wars and Rumors of War Tuesday. And what we do is we read Matthew 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things come to pass, but the end is not yet. And from there, we read these different versions. The New International Version, you will hear of wars and rumors of war. The NLT, you will hear of wars and threats. So now we have rumors and threats. Rumors, rumors, rumors. All right, we do this every Tuesday. All right, rumors, down to Aramaic, Bible in plain English. You get rumors, threats, and reports of wars. Go all the way down to where we see news. Where's news? Reports, right here. Good news. You are going to hear the noise of battles close by and the news of battles far away. So we got news, we got reports, we got threats, and rumors. So let's check these reports. Let's check these threats. Let's check these rumors. We're going to go to Dina today because it's only 13 minutes. I'm going to listen to what she says. I cut out the intro. She can get straight to it. I don't really know what she's going to say, but she's pretty good at bringing out current news, or her team for that matter. 21 hours ago, this is yesterday, Russia to arm North Korea. That's huge, right? If Russia is arming North Korea, you mean to tell me that Iran don't have a nuke? Huh. All right. U.S. jet intercepts Russian fighter. China questions sovereignty of Baltic states. And take it away, Dina.
Welcome back again, everyone. It's Dina Calmetta here, and for today's news, I do have some headlines I'd like to share with you. And in fact, I'd like to start with China, as it has been reported that apparently the Chinese ambassador has questioned the sovereignty of the Baltic states, and now they're demanding answers. The three Baltic states have strongly condemned comments by China's envoy to France, who appeared to suggest in a recent French television interview that former Soviet republics are not sovereign nations.
Is that a rumor? Is that a report? Is that news, or is that a threat? Ha! Just interjecting.
Foreign ministers of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, in separate announcements, late on Saturday, deemed the statements by Liu She, China's ambassador to France, as unacceptable. In a recent interview with the French news channel LCI, he was asked if he thought that the Crimean Peninsula belongs to Ukraine. Russia annexed Crimea from Ukraine in 2014, but the envoy told the broadcaster that depends on how one perceives this problem. There's the history. Crimea was at the beginning Russian. It was Soviet Union, and the Soviet leader at the time gave Crimea to Ukraine in the era of the Soviet Union. When the channel's presenter noted that according to international law, Crimea is a part of Ukraine, the Chinese ambassador drew a parallel to the former Soviet republics, including the three Baltic nations, that broke free after the USSR collapsed in 1991. He stated that with regards to international law, even these ex-Soviet Union countries, they do not have the status that's effective in international law, because there is no international agreement to solidify their status as a sovereign country. Now, the Lithuanian foreign minister tweeted that if anyone is still wondering why the Baltic states don't trust China to broker peace in Ukraine, here is a Chinese ambassador arguing that Crimea is Russian, and our country's borders have no legal basis. His Estonian counterpart said that the Chinese ambassador's comments were false and a misinterpretation of history, while the Latvian foreign minister said that the statements were completely unacceptable. and each of them have summoned China's ambassador or representative for an explanation of the envoy's comments. Now, in a separate statement, France's foreign ministry expressed concern about the ambassador's comments about the ex-Soviet state and said that it's for China to say whether these comments reflect its position, which we hope is not the case. Now, President Putin of Russia, which is China's ally, has said several times that he doesn't recognize the sovereignty of Ukraine. The Kremlin also made it clear that it perceives the independence of the Baltic states and their active role in NATO and the EU as threats to Russia's security. Now, since these arguments were made, the Chinese embassy in France removed the transcript of the controversial interview. So definitely a very interesting piece there. Are these nations next on Russia's list to invade? Hopefully not, because they are EU members as well as NATO members. And NATO's stance is attack against one is an attack against all. Now, with that said, here is another report. Apparently, China's foreign minister stated that both sides of the Taiwan Strait belong to China, and that it is a right and proper for China to uphold its sovereignty. The foreign minister made the remarks at the Latin Forum in Shanghai, where he discussed a wide range of topics from debt to the global economy and Taiwan. And he stated that recently there has been absurd rhetoric accusing China of upending the status quo, disrupting peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. The logic is absurd and the conclusion dangerous. He added that fair-minded people can see who is engaged in the bullying and high-minded practices. He said it is not the Chinese mainland, but the Taiwan independence, separatist forces, and a handful of countries attempting to disrupt the status quo. Those who play with fire on Taiwan will eventually get themselves burned. Those are definitely some very strong words coming out of China. In the meantime, the NATO chief has stated that China is rapidly building its nuclear capabilities without any apparent regard for the safety of the world or itself. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said that the regime isn't cooperating with international norms and laws regarding nuclear proliferation and will not be honest with the international community about the extent of its nuclear expansion. He said that China is rapidly growing its nuclear arsenal without any transparency about its capabilities. We should push back against efforts that risk undermining the existing non-proliferation framework, including the Treaty on the Provision of Nuclear Weapons. It goes on further to report that the CCP, which rules China as a single-party state, has long refused to participate in arms control talks. Now, while that refusal was previously viewed with some annoyance by the international community, the regime's sudden push to create a world-leading nuclear arsenal has triggered widespread alarm. The Pentagon.
Nuclear. China, what does this say? China accelerating nuclear armament without any, what? How many nukes are there? We're going to check the Bible here.
Reports estimate that the regime will obtain 1,000 nuclear weapons by 2030 and 1,500 by 2035. Likewise, the regime now fields more launchers for land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles than the United States.
Now, a question. How many, you see this? This one rocket. How many nukes are on it? Is there just one warhead? How many warheads? Right? The rocket is the delivery system. Once it gets over it's called intercontinental, she just said. Okay, so once it gets over the continent, how many actual warheads does it release? Right? There's a question. Is it just one? So, and then because they don't want to tell you, see, without any that means they ain't saying shit. Without any transparency. They are not letting nobody know how many they have. So you could count 1, 2, 3. They have 3. Nope. You think they're going to tell you how many warheads, when this thing is over the continent, how many branch out from here? Got it? Intercontinental. We're going to see what the Bible says.
By 2035. Likewise, the regime now fields more launchers for land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles than the United States. Stoltenberg said that China is part of a broader movement of authoritarian nations, including Russia, Iran, and North Korea, seeking to destabilize the international community through nuclear proliferation. To that end, he said NATO needed to push back against such threats while engaging with Beijing to bring it to the negotiating table. Now, this next report, I'm going to highly encourage you to visit us on our Rumble channel. As you can see from the headline, it is a very important topic that needs to...
Wait a minute. Is this a rumor? Is this a report? Is this a threat? Or is this news? Okay. This is very, very compelling information here. Good job, Dina.
Addressed, and people need to know about it. So for this portion of the broadcast, move on over to Rumble and you'll be able to hear that report, which I stress again is very important. There's no denying that we have some very concerning news in regards to China. But what is happening with Russia and North Korea? Well, it's been reported that apparently Putin has promised to arm North Korea.
What does that mean? Well, let's look at it. How many nukes does this guy have? 20. How many nukes does this guy have? Well, they're not being transparent, are they? Right? How many nukes does one intercontinental ballistic missile, the missile is not the warhead, okay? How many does it deliver, right, to the area?
With his latest weapons, if South Korea sends weapons to Ukraine. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev has warned that Putin will send weapons to North Korea if South Korea gives military assistance to Ukraine. His warning comes after the South Korean president signaled that he was considering offering Ukraine more than just humanitarian and financial support. The former Russian president reacted furiously. Medvedev, who currently serves as Deputy Secretary of the Security Council of Russia, warned South Korea against such a move on his Telegram channel, stating that I wonder what the inhabitants of this country will say when they see the latest samples of Russian weapons from their closest neighbors, our partners, from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Now, it goes on further to report that the South Korean president stated that if there is a situation the international community cannot condone, such as any large-scale attack on civilians, massacre, or serious violation of the laws of war, it might be difficult for us to insist only on humanitarian or financial support. The Kremlin spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, said that South Korea's move was unfortunate and accused the Asian country of drawing more and more countries directly into the conflict. Now, South Korea has previously refused to provide weapons to Ukraine due to several Russian companies operating in the country and the tense situation with North Korea. Now, with that said, here is another partnership that is brewing between Russia and Cuba. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov announced that the military cooperation between Russia and Cuba is progressing after a meeting with top officials in Cuba. A reporter inquired about the possibility of a Russian military base being restored in Cuba, to which the Russian foreign minister responded that military cooperation between the two countries was advancing in accordance with their agreements. Lavrov is currently visiting several Latin American countries and emphasized Russia's desire to form strategic partnerships with countries such as Brazil and Venezuela. During a press conference, he also criticized the U.S.'s attempt to impose its vision on the world and argued that the international relations should not be based on Washington-established rules. He also disclosed ongoing negotiations between Cuba and Russia regarding a loan for additional wheat supplies and announced that the terms for reconstructing Cuba's debt has been agreed upon. And he also thanked Cuba for their full understanding on Ukraine. Now, in the meantime, it's also been reported that a Russian warplane is seen buzzing an American jet in terrifying scenes just last week. The U.S. 9th Air Force has released the declassified footage of the unsafe interaction that explains that on April 18, 2023, U.S. Air Force fighter aircraft took off from air bases in the region and intercepted the Russian fighter. During the intercept, the Russian pilot maneuvered unprofessionally within 2,000 feet of the U.S. aircraft, violating standing deconfliction protocols. Definitely seems like we are witnessing the beginning stages of World War III. We've got the United States and China at each other's throats, Russia and Ukraine, and then Russia and NATO. And then we also have some serious tensions between North Korea, South Korea, the United States, and Japan. But what is happening in Sudan is also very serious. In fact, Biden has urged Americans over there to shelter in place and is also evacuating the embassy.
But you're not evacuating the citizens? Of course not. Sounds like Afghanistan to me.
Joe Biden on Saturday ordered the evacuation of U.S. Embassy staff in Sudan amid worsening fighting between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces. Today, on my orders, the United States military conducted an operation to extract U.S. government personnel in response to the situation in Sudan. I am grateful for the commitment of our embassy staff and the skill of our service members who brought them to safety. He said in his written statement that I am receiving regular reports from my team on their ongoing work to assist Americans in Sudan to the extent possible. We are also working closely with our allies and partners in this effort. Now, Under Secretary for Management Ambassador John Bass told reporters that fewer than 100 personnel were evacuated from the embassy. He also acknowledged that there are still Americans left in Sudan and that the United States government would not be evacuating them. He said, as a result of the uncertain security picture and as a result of the unavailability of the civilian airport, we don't foresee coordinating a U.S. government evacuation for our fellow citizens in Sudan at this time or in the coming days. Although we don't foresee coordinating that evacuation, we certainly continue to be in close touch with many American citizens in the city in Sudan to give them our best assessment of the security environment and to encourage them to take appropriate precautions to the best of their ability and around that environment. It is not clear if American citizens in Sudan have asked to be evacuated, but Bass said that the U.S. government would continue to look for ways to help the trapped Americans from a distance. So hopefully he'll be able to get all the U.S. citizens out of Sudan.
Like they did in Afghanistan.
But definitely a very serious situation. And as always, I will continue to keep you updated.
Thank you, Dina. All right, so before we answer the question, how many warheads does the Bible say? Let us, down goes Frazier. Let us, that was from the Tucker situation. Let's ask a question to old Google. How many warheads are in a single ICBM missile? Each ICBM carries one warhead. Lie. Either a W87 or the 78, but theoretically hold 2 or 3 warheads each. That is a straight lie. Okay? With a single, this is lie, multiple independently targetable reentry vehicle. Each missile can carry up to 14 warheads. Which one is it? Each ICBM has the potential to carry multiple. You see this? All right. 2022 says, Lewis noted that China's Dongfang 41 missile can carry multiple warheads, so 300 missiles Could get you slightly over 400. No. They're not being transparent, are they? Well, let's see what the Bible says. The source of all truth. See, the devil is the father of lies, is he not? Isn't he? What do you believe? Single warrior? I don't believe it. Nope. Nope, nope. Okay? You can't believe anything. Right? Never trust thine enemy. This is 1500. Okay, you can't you can't trust your enemy, right? You can't believe what he says. They're going to hide it. What is Iran doing? Oh, you can't come over here and look at our program, right? What is the EIEIO, the IAEA? Why do they have to have a commission to go and check on somebody to see what? Because they're hiding shit. Why do they go underground, right? What is arms control? What is all of that about? I mean, they ain't telling you what the hell is going on. So, first, let's get an understanding of what these soldiers are. And we do this regularly. And I'm going to try to make it quick. This is Joel 2. Okay. The army of locusts, right? Now, what this army of locusts is referring to is the missiles. Okay, we're going to read this in the Berean Standard and see if we can get what we need. Start at 2. Joel 2 and 2. Joel 2 and 2. A day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and blackness like the dawn, overspreading the mountains. A great and strong army appears. What army is that? Let's find out. Such as never was of old. This army is different from any other army. It's talking about the missiles. Nor will ever be in the ages to come. You're not going to need nukes after World War III. Before them, it's going to describe this army. What army do you know looks like this or functions like? Before them, a fire devours. That's the warhead. And behind them, a flame scorches. That's the delivery system. That's the missile. Okay? You see a missile fire, the engine ignites and fire comes out of the back of it, behind them. What happens before them is the warhead waiting to explode. Now it's going to describe that. The land before them is like the Garden of Eden, paradise. Before that warhead, before the warhead hits, it's paradise. But behind them, after the warhead, is like a desert wasteland. That's the warhead. Surely nothing will escape them. Their appearance is like that of horses. Horses meaning power, powerful. And they gallop like swift steeds. That's that delivery system, the missile. With a sound like that of a chariot, they bound over the mountaintops like the crackling of fire consuming stubble. Right? That's that warhead. Like a mighty army deployed for battle. You see this army? It's likening the missiles, the nuclear missiles, to what? To an army. Soldiers. Nations writhe in horror before them, every face turns pale. They charge like mighty men, they scale the walls like men of war. Each one marches in formation, not swerving from the course. They do not jostle one another. Each proceeds in its path. They burst through the defenses, never breaking ranks. They storm the cities. They run along the wall. They climb into houses, entering through windows like thieves. Before them, the earth quakes, the heavens tremble. Okay, that's talking about the ICBM nuclear missiles. All right, that's Joel. Now we'll go to Revelation 9, and we're going to get the number. We're going to get a number of how many warheads are going to be used in World War III. Right? And you don't have to believe it, but this is the truth coming out of the Bible. Right? The sixth trumpet, Revelation 9 and 13. Then the sixth angel sounded his trumpet, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar before the Most High, saying to the sixth angel with the trumpet, release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. So the four angels who had been prepared for this day, for this hour and day and month and year, were released to kill the third of mankind. What am I reading here? This is the Berean. Good enough. And the number of mounted troops, right? Okay, these troops are that army. What army? The army of missiles, right? They were released to kill a third of mankind. What are the thirds of mankind? Okay. The sons of God, who are now called the Israelites, the nation of Israel. You got who are as the sand of the sea. There's so many of them. You got the sons of God, the sons of men, and the sons of the wicked, right? The Edomites, who are the third, and were released to kill a third of mankind, the sons of the wicked, the Edomites. That's what it is. And the number of mounted troops, the army, right? Army of locusts, was 200 million. I heard their number. That kind of came out wrong. I wanted to read this first. 200,000. The number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them. How many? How many warheads? See that? 200 million. 200 million. 200 million. Now let's go back after 200 million. 200,000. And I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in a vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads, warheads of the horses were as the heads of lions. And out of their mouths issued fire and smoke. And but this is talking about the warhead, the nuclear warhead. By these three was the third part of men killed. Who's that? The Edomites. Okay? Everywhere in Russia and in the United States, right? By the fire and by the smoke and the brimstone which had issued out of that, those are the warheads. For their power is in their mouth, the warheads, and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, a fiery flying serpent, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. What was the number of the horsemen? Twice 10,000 times 10,000. 200 million warheads. Okay, so don't be fooled when you see Okay, they're sitting there telling you, well, they're not being transparent, right? How many licks does it take to get to the chocolatey center of a Tootsie Pop? Okay, 200 million. How many are in there? They're not going to tell you. But the truth, you can find the truth is in the Bible. All right, 200 million. That's a lot. And Iran doesn't have a nuke. No, they have many, 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 many nukes. All right, and they will be used. They're not for a museum somewhere. They're all gonna do what they have to do. All right. So with that, we'll end it right there. We hope that the elect were edified, you brothers and few sisters. With that, shalom.